Hello everyone. I thought about reading my book, Breathing for Confidence, a chapter at a time on my channel. And the reason for doing that is so that people can have access to the techniques easily and for free, instead of waiting for the audiobook to arrive. Although, when the audiobook does, I hope I will be supported in that as well. This is what the book looks like for those of you who may not have seen it before. There you go. It's a thin book because it deals with only breathing. And the reason for that is because we live in such a fast-paced world these days that everybody's looking for just that one technique that they want to have access to. So there are about 9 books in this series, and each of them deals only with 1 or 2 techniques per book. That way it's easy for you to find what you're looking for. I understand this because I've been teaching for so long. I know how impatient people are. Okay, so that's what I wanted to do. But before I read anything, I just want to mention this. These books are aimed at people who want to study voice for whatever reason, whether you want to sing or if for speaking or, I don't know, audiobook narrating, since we're talking about audiobooks. But as I've been doing a lot of podcasts, vlogs, all sorts of things, radio shows for years, 10 years I've been doing this, about Adam Lambert's voice. Some of Adam Lambert's fans have bought my book, I suppose, in support of me, because I gave all this information for more than 10 years for free. And so I appreciate enormously their support. Thank you guys, and thank you also for those of you who bought it and left such fantastic reviews for me. If you have bought it and you haven't left a review, I would deeply appreciate it if you do. However, quite a number of these people have contacted me because they think the book is about Adam, and it is not. This book is about my teaching techniques. I tell the story in the form of a novel, because that is, in my experience, the best way to learn something, if you learn it as a story, so that you can learn the techniques as the character learns them in the book. But I guess because the character in the book, whose name is Jake, is a musical theatre singer, and he goes for an audition on a television show, and he's got dark hair and blue eyes. People think that that's Adam Lambert, and I have to tell you, it has nothing to do with Adam Lambert. Jake is physically based on my best male friend and soul brother, Stephen, who died a few years ago. That's physically who Jake is based on. But he is an amalgam of all the performers and students and wonderful singers I've worked with for over 30 years. Okay? So he has nothing to do with Adam. But I do understand that if you read a story, invariably you will have someone in mind that who is that character, right? So I don't know, if you read any kind of romance novel and you fall in love with, you know, the hero, then he might remind you of, I don't know, Brad Pitt or somebody. So if people think that this character is Adam Lambert, I'm very flattered, but it is not. I have spoken elsewhere about Adam's voice and how amazing it is, and as I said, I've done that for over 10 years on my YouTube channel and my website, The Sound Bath. Okay, that's where you can find out stuff about Adam. This is my life's work and is very different. So I wanted to put that out there so that there is no confusion from anyone. Okay, so as I said, I want to read my book online, and so I will read a chapter at a time. So today I want to start with the preface. And the preface is basically a letter from me to the readers, okay? So before the story starts even. So every chapter starts with a little quote, and the preface is no exception to that. So the quote for this is, "For breath is life, and if you breathe well, you will live long on the earth." And that is a Sanskrit proverb. So this is the preface. Dear reader, this book is about how to breathe optimally in a way that supports not only your voice for speaking or singing, but also your physical, mental, and emotional well-being. In this first book in my series about voice, I will show you how to breathe optimally daily. Once you become accustomed to the new sensation of breathing in your body, it will become automatic, just as it does for singers and actors who train their breathing to support their art fully. We all know our voice is our most important communications tool. It is often our initial contact with someone over the phone and makes a strong first impression when meeting someone. Breathing is the foundation of good, strong voice production and all the benefits that go with it. Confidence, stress relief, better sleep, mental clarity, to name but a few. Starting the series with a book on breathing is therefore the obvious route to understanding and developing optimal breathing for further voice work and health. To illustrate, a snippet from my life. When I was 5 or 6 years old, just as I'd started studying with my first proper singing teacher, I began to be afflicted by a constant stream of colds and flu. My lifelong passion for voice and singing began the moment I'd first heard and felt my voice fly out of my mouth. To find a singing teacher felt as though I'd been gifted all my birthday and Christmas presents at once. It was beyond exciting. So, to say I was dismayed at what I saw as my body's betrayal, therefore, was the understatement of the century. At the time, I was living in Africa with my family, and you might think it too hot there for such things as colds and flu, but you would be wrong. African winters can be brutal, especially in the Namibian desert, and they took their toll on my seemingly inherent, fragile health. I remember well the pungent odour of friar's balsam that burned in a lamp next to my bed. As far as I can recall, it helped somewhat to clear my congested lungs. Dream-like memories of my gloomy bedroom still remind me of the nightmare that happened to another me in another time and world. Only fragments of that time now live at the edges of my memory. But my one pervasive fear was that I could never sing because my lungs would never be strong enough. What added to my fear was that the breathing techniques I had to learn for singing classical music did not come easily to me. Perhaps it was because of my unfortunate ill health, or perhaps, like many other students, I simply found the techniques particularly challenging. Even early classical songs make musical demands for longer phrases and the steady control of the release of air more so than most contemporary songs do. Therefore, students of classical singing in particular usually focus more specifically on controlling their breath as it leaves their body. Proper technique for inhaling means tension-free inspiration. This helps with controlled exhalation, which has an accumulative effect on breathing throughout a song, no matter how demanding. Breathing in singing happens not only so we have a breath with which to take the next phrase. Breathing should also become part of the song, just as the silences do between the notes, and therefore optimal breathing in all styles of music make for a more pleasant listening event for the audience and, surprisingly, a much easier experience for the singer or speaker. Thankfully, in time, like my fellow singing students, I too conquered the art of breathing optimally for singing, and by default, also for speaking. My predisposition for getting colds and flu diminished over time, and my breathing techniques have stood me in good stead over the years. I count myself extremely fortunate to have sung all over the world. Some of my dreams came true when I was invited to sing at several of the world's most prestigious venues, including the Royal Opera House in Covent Garden. Other events, such as being invited by Queen Elizabeth II to Buckingham Palace in recognition of my contribution to the music, culture and economy of the UK, far surpassed any dreams I might have harboured in such a direction. It is my wish that the techniques in this book will help to inspire you to follow your own dreams. Because I'm a singer, and it may sound as though I'm focused only on singers, many of my students come from a wide range of styles, from opera and oratorio to jazz, musical theatre, pop and rock, and all have benefited from these same techniques. However, my students have also included public speakers, company executives, banking industry executives, aeroplane flight attendants, teachers, young adults preparing for university entrance interviews, lawyers, actors, TV personalities, and even a judge. These techniques are proven to work for anyone who wants to enhance their voice through training. I could have written this book as a step-by-step guide, but already many books exist doing just that. Instead, I have chosen to use a story to illustrate how important breathing is. I want to show how breathing can help you improve your life and health. It can even help you to achieve what you want in a way that allows you to feel grounded and centered in yourself. Besides, we know that stories are the best ways for us to learn and remember what we've learned. I could have elected to tell the story of an executive or public speaker going through a similar situation than my character does. But even for students who study with me to improve their voices for speaking, I teach a little singing. Our voices are musical instruments after all, no matter whether we use them for singing or speaking, and music is hardwired into our brains. Thus, this is the story of an imaginary student called Jake Tyler. His dream is to become a famous recording artist, so he can entertain people and make them forget their problems through his music. But singing is only one aspect of being a recording artist. Jake fully knows he'll be invited for interviews and talk shows, and therefore his speaking voice has to be in as good a shape as his singing voice must be. As a result, Jake has spent years perfecting good techniques that will afford him a lifelong career in such a competitive industry and hopefully catapult him to fame. Jake is an amalgam of the many fellow performers and students I've met over the more than 30 years I've studied, implemented, and taught these techniques. The voice teacher, Anne, is loosely based on me, and she uses the same techniques I use for my students with which to teach Jake. However, this story is not an autobiography. I trust this short book inspires you to a new understanding of the importance of breathing optimally in your daily life. I trust you will want to discover the enormous beneficial impact proper breathing techniques have on the way your voice feels to you and sounds to others. It is my wish that the following pages awaken awe in you for your body's amazing ability to bring health into your life through the mere act of breathing optimally. If you follow the lessons exactly and do these simple exercises daily, you will be able to learn much about breathing control and voice production from these books. You can also use the books to supplement lessons. Of course, no book can teach you everything. We are all individuals with individual needs and unique challenges. The best way to learn these techniques is to find the best singing or voice teacher in your area and attend regular lessons until you've mastered them. I understand the challenges of finding a good voice teacher, but there are things you can look out for, and if a teacher has been recommended, that's the best way forward. Before you begin your studies, check that the teacher has a professional performance background, that they have accredited teaching qualifications from a recognizable institution, and that their fees are in line with industry fees. Meanwhile, I trust this book will show you why you may want to pursue voice lessons. So, thank you for listening or watching, and I want to remind you that I have already made a short series of videos about optimal breathing, which you can find on this channel. So until next time,